Hi, hello. So we are back into Gore World commentary again, but this time we're actually not going to talk about Foodie Booty, Chantal Marie. We're actually going to talk about who I guess is considered to be the original Gore World girl, and that would be Amberlynn Reid. I was an on and off watcher of Amberlynn, but not her videos directly. It was always through a reaction channel, usually Zachary Michael, because he was captioning his videos, so it was just easier to go that route. And also it was just more entertaining with his reaction. And if you don't know who she is another person who wanted to lose weight and then she ended up doing the opposite. And she is known for getting into various relationships, and now she's recently moved to Oklahoma on her own for the first time at the age of, actually I think we're the same age. And now she's got a new girlfriend, so some things have been going on, and there's a specific incident that had me wanting to make this video. So I do relate to Amberlynn in some sort of ways. We both had a traumatic childhood. We both did actually end up living on our own for the first time in our early 30s. Now, Amber has lived out of her parents or out of foster care. I was never in foster care. She has lived with other people like the majority of her life, but this was the first time that she's actually moved out on her own by herself to an apartment. So when she would be doing some strange things in regards to living on her own, I kind of understood that, and I kind of understood some of her mannerisms and things. I can't remember the specifics right now, but there were moments where I would watch the videos and I'm like, I kind of get it. So recently she went to Wisconsin because her girlfriend lives there. She's in a long distance relationship, and she brought her pets with her. Traveled all the way, I can't remember how long of a drive, 17-ish hours, and she brought her 2 cats and a dog in the car. And it was strange because we all thought this was going to be a short stay, and it's like, why are you bringing mostly your cats? I think dogs can handle that better. Cats, not so much, and I understand this because I went cross country. And it was a terrible time because it was 4 days that I stayed, and then I just had to go back. And in that time, what we imagined was going to be 1 or 2 weeks turned to almost 3 months. And within that 2-month, 2.5 mark, her cat Rarity went missing. So she left the door open at 5 a.m., leaves it open for 20 minutes, just now realizes after that 20 minutes, which is strange because it's Wisconsin, it's 5 in the morning, it's super cold. I live in Omaha now, and it's definitely very cold at 5 in the morning. If you were to have the door open, that breeze is gonna come through. So how would you not realize that? Rumors went around because she never announced it until it got brought up on reaction channels and live streams, and then here we are. Back and forth for about a week or 2, 3 weeks, and then she talks about how, okay, the details are a little bit blurry, but from what I can remember, she kind of uses an explanation of because her childhood was so traumatic, she left the door open because she wasn't thinking, she was spacing out or something, or that all the other neglect that has also occurred with her cats, because need I mention, none of her pets are microchipped, none of them have a collar, neither of my cats have a collar, but they are indoor only, but they are microchipped. And it was just very, very strange because 2 of my own cats have gone missing. Granted, one of them was an indoor-outdoor cat, and he was about 11 years old, so there's a possibility that it was just his time and he might have gone off somewhere and then just went and passed away from the household. I was about 10 or 11 when this happened, so I was very young. And then another cat, she was only 2 years old, and we let her out. She was also indoor-outdoor. We lived in the country, which you think it's a little bit more safe because it's in the country. You know, we're near some farms, but also at the same time, who knows what's crawling around there. So I remember we let her out Super Bowl night and she just never came back. Now those were intentional I'm gonna let the cat out moments, and we assume that they're gonna come back. So maybe this isn't as relevant as I thought I was thinking it was going to be. But anyway, let me tell you something. As someone who has also accidentally had both of my current cats out, because I would think that I had the door closed and then the wind would knock the door open. And then recently-ish in my old apartment, I did not realize that the door was closed or was not closed all the way. Normally I never open that back door, but I was doing it because I was letting my neighbor in. It was a really difficult doorknob to deal with, and I did not realize until way back into the morning that, oh, the door had been a little bit open. Was the door a little bit open, or was it just, it was closed, or not closed, but the door was almost closed. It's like if you were to just kind of shut it, but you don't shut it all the way, but there's no space in between the door and the outside. Do you get where I'm going at with it? But the risk, I knew the risk. There was a huge chance that I could have woken up and neither of my cats were going to be there, because that was the back door open to the garden patio, and they could have gone anywhere, because there's no gated protection where if they do go outside, they're just gonna stay there. No, you can leave to go out into the street from that patio. So as someone who has dealt with abuse from her mother for 3 decades, emotional, physical, mental, emotional, and has dealt with just the stress of all that and having trauma from that and all this other stuff, abandonment issues from other things, I'm just trying to figure out in what way, how, if my own cats went missing, well, these ones, that I would be blaming it on the fact that my mother abused me. That doesn't make sense to me at all. What's also strange to me is the fact that, you know, it's been said that this girl has gone out and really searched for the cats. From what we know, it's just been from looking at the camera, at the Ring camera, I'm guessing. Okay, some posters were made and there's a little reward, but no one's actually really gone out into the streets to look for the cat. And then there was a cat 1.7 miles away from the house that was deceased, was taken to the Humane Society, I think. She never went to go actually check to see if that was her cat, despite the fact that the cat had a very strong, similar description to Rarity. If I got a phone call, a text message, an email, whatever, with a description of my cat, I would be going over there. I'd be making my girlfriend drive me over there, or if I can't drive, which I can but she can't, I'm taking an Uber or something. Somebody is going to make it so that I can get over to the vet or the Humane Society and see if that's my cat. I'm not going to rely on someone who doesn't know me, who doesn't know my cat personally, to tell me, oh no, I don't think that this is your cat, or I know this isn't your cat because of this little thing in the description that doesn't quite match up. If I've had my cat for 8 years, which I think is around the time that I've had Zane, actually no, I've had him for much longer than that actually. If I've had my cat for that long, I'm gonna go figure it out. Also, why are we not microchipping our pets? This girl makes so much money. You wanna know how much I make on videos that take me days to make? From filming to editing to captioning and all that stuff, $1 to $2 on average right now. Sometimes I get very lucky with $5, and right now I have a video that's going viral in comparison to the rest of my channel. That almost makes me YouTube rich for me. But this girl has so much money. So much money that she was able to go stay in Wisconsin for almost 3 months while still paying the rent over in Oklahoma in an apartment that she's not stepping in. But now she's back in Oklahoma because, conveniently enough, the day before, or a few days before, it was very shortly before she did end up going back to Oklahoma, she said, I am no longer going to talk about my cat. I am no longer going to talk about my cat. I do not want any more speculation, which all this does really is bring up more speculation, because without answers, people are going to speculate, which is unfortunate, but it's true. And conveniently enough, she's on her way back home to Oklahoma. Still doesn't have her cat. There's things that you have to do in Oklahoma, whatever, those are your reasons for going back, and maybe it's true. But what the hell are you doing with your cat? Especially since your girlfriend had to drive you back another 17 hours, and then she stayed for another day before she flew back, and then made the drive back home. So imagine during that time if Rarity had shown up and now what's going to happen. And then Rarity's like, oh no, there's no cat, there's no, my mother, you know, my owner is not here, so I'm gonna go and wander off again. Now, I'm not gonna say what is probably the current status of Rarity. I don't think that's really helping anybody, and I don't even want to imagine that either. In my head, somebody else found her and she's living a happy life. But imagine if you had your cat microchipped, because also, what if the cat that was found on the side of the road, if that cat was microchipped? I don't think the cat was microchipped, because at least then it would have been confirmation. If the stray found cat had been microchipped, the Humane Society could have scanned it, then we know for sure. But I don't think that's what happened, which kind of leads me to believe even more. Again, I don't want to think that kind of stuff, but imagine if the pets had been microchipped, then you probably could have avoided a lot of problems. You at least would have some sort of confirmation. And even now with all of that, and then even after it turns out that Rarity's missing, she still hasn't gone to microchip her other cat Wasabi and Twinkie, her dog. And to this day, I don't think that still happened. That should have been the first thing on your mind. Again, you have so much money. I don't know how much money, and I know it's not as much money as before, because before I know she was really raking in the dough, but I think now it's probably less, but it's still enough to live comfortably. At least enough to go get your pets microchipped. In fact, you can usually get that done for free, or at least significantly cheaper. There's usually specials, or there's places that will, for people who don't make as much money, or maybe there's like an emergency, they've fallen through hard times, right? You can go to these specific clinics or specific days, whatever, and get that done for significantly cheaper. Like, I don't know the average price. I feel like the average price maybe is like 40 to 50 bucks, depending on where you live and stuff. Obviously, if you live in the Midwest versus like California, it's different. But then like in special moments, for special clinics, for special event days, whatever, I've seen it be knocked down to like 10 to 15, and some free. And listen, I'm someone with a huge amount of brain fog. My brain is all over the place. I suspect ADHD. I don't know for sure. It hasn't been confirmed. I'm in therapy, so that would be talked about at some point. And I have brain fog moments from all the trauma and things like that. But I know that I have a responsibility to these two cats, because they can't open and close doors on their own. And Zane likes to go outside when he gets very curious about things. Simon also loves to go outside. And once upon a time, when the door back in North Carolina in that apartment was open, probably because I don't think the wind blew it open, it was just, we didn't shut the door all the way, which is ridiculous. And Simon, ended up actually going outside, and I couldn't find him at first. It took me a minute to notice because the door's behind me. And so then when I noticed, like, I can't remember if I noticed a breeze or if it was just a light shining through, and I turn around, I'm like, oh my god, and then I'm trying to look outside, and then I'm trying to look inside, and I can't find Simon. And then I go outside, and I'm freaking the hell out. Luckily, I turned, and he was on the ground behind the bush, like right there beside the stairs. But I can only imagine that because I didn't check to shut the door all the way, he probably could have gone off, because we were also living right on a busy highway. So, for the love of all things holy, Amberlynn Reid, get your damn pets that you currently still have microchipped. Get your dog a collar. Should something happen, somebody's gonna know that Twinkie is owned by someone, isn't a stray dog. Get them microchipped, because usually what happens when animals get picked up by people who do care and, you know, not just selfish people, they will go to the Humane Society, to a vet, whoever, whatever, and get them microchipped to see if somebody owns that animal. In fact, I'm surprised that I don't know how often the animals have been taken to the vet because the part where Amber has had an emergency with her dog, and then instead of taking the dog to the vet, she went to Chili's instead. So here in Nebraska, at least in this particular county, in Douglas County for Omaha, the moment that you take your pets to the vet, you're gonna get a letter in the mail that says that you need to license your pets. You have to pay a licensing fee every year for Douglas County. Now, if I had taken my cats to Council Bluffs, probably wouldn't have had to happen. It's just Douglas County and Sarpy County, I think, where you have to pay a fee every year. And of course, with that, they're gonna need their rabies shot. They're gonna need, I'm pretty sure, to be microchipped and a couple of other things. Otherwise, you're gonna be paying even more money. So I imagine Kentucky wasn't like that, because I actually don't think North Carolina you have to pay licensing fee, but we never did. So I'm gonna say that I'm correct in thinking that. At least in Douglas County in Nebraska, you have to pay a licensing fee, and they will know. They will know if your pets aren't microchipped and aren't licensed and whatever. I don't know why we gotta pay every year for that, but. And I don't feel like moving to another county, so I like it here. It's not that expensive, really. It's like $50 or less, something like that. But that's for both cats together, not separately. But that also depends on whether they've been neutered and spayed or not. Anyway, all that to say, yeah, I don't see the correlation between the traumatic childhood and not being able to care for your pets. I mean, I guess maybe in the back of my mind, I get why there's a possibility of, okay, like I had brain fog, I get where I screwed up and that, but you kind of got to get over it, because you know you have a responsibility to 2, 3 living things that can't take care of themselves on their own. Otherwise, why do you have them? Anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. Wanted to make some more YouTube commentary type of videos, and this rubbed me the wrong way. This whole entire last month of whatever has been going on in that regard has been rubbing me the wrong way. So, if anybody in my subscriber base is in Gore World, and I know there are a few, I don't know, let's have a chat. But yeah, should I talk more about this or Gore World in the future? Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads about that. If you would like to support the work that I do have a Patreon page. If you would like to subscribe to that for as low as $1 a month, you get exclusive content, a lot of it, or you can be a channel member and get extra videos when I do get those made. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I very much appreciate it. Microchip your pets, and I will see you later. Bye.